I've annealed my ring shank and I'm going to hammer it around the ring mandrel using a rawhide hammer. So we're going to go at least 3 sizes smaller and just make sure that it's perfectly round. And flip it so that it's not tapered. And then just keep gently hammering until the gap is correct, because you can't have too much tension on this and you can't reform it once it's soldered. So you want to have it as perfect as possible before you solder. So when it's perfect, the curve will match the chenier. And I'm just using a spare piece of the big chenier for my measuring. The tension will be just enough to hold it in place and the curve will be perfect. This one isn't yet, so just keep working until it's a perfect match. So now we have a perfect match inside and out. It's ready to solder. So you have a look at your setting and you can see that it's well soldered on the sides and on the end and on the inside. At this point, what I want to do is put the partial bezel against the ring. You can put it the other way. This one is the other way. You can see that the gap is on the side, but I want the gap on the 90-degree different. So this is how I'm going to solder this one. And I'm going to hold it in a third hand, put solder here and here. And I'm using hard solder again because the 2 pieces that are soldered on will actually be pushed against the inner bezel, so it doesn't matter if they become unsoldered. So just flexing this, placing the hard solder, which is 2 millimeters long, right on the join. Always use your flux brush because the solder needs flux on it too. Now we'll warm it up, position the solder. A nice neutral flame. So I just gently on and off. Keep the flux warm so that you can push your solder around. Now circle the shank and the setting, because they both want to be the same temperature. Your flux will go clear and the solder will flow, just like that. So quench it, pickle it, and have a look. So we're out of the pickle now. Dry it, have a look, and you should see a nice meniscus, which is the curve, everywhere you've soldered. So check the sides, the top, the inside. There shouldn't be any gaps at this point. Hallmark the ring at this point, because you'll have to tidy up this bump where you've hallmarked it. Now we're going to shape these little bezel bits, and we're going to cut the seat for the stone. Now we're using a 4 millimeter stone setting burr and you can see that it's sitting a little bit proud. So we want to run the tapered part down so that the vertical part of this is just touching the inner bezel. So be sure it's straight. And just slowly run that in. And that's so that we have a nice tapered seat for our stone to sit on. Now put your stone in and check it. And we want the table, which is the top part of the stone, to be level with the top of your bezel. So now we'll need to file these bits here so that they're level with the top of the stone. You can see that one over there is a little bit high. So just your flat hand file. You could leave your stone in there if you want. It doesn't matter. The file won't hurt the stone, but I usually take it out just to be safe. Now those are level. I'm going to just file the edges a little bit and make it slightly rounded, and then I'm going to file a taper, a 45-degree taper, so that it's a little bit thinner. Okay, we're ready to set the stone, but before I do that, I want to tidy up any of this bit on the edge. If it's a little bit rough, I use a black abrasive wheel, which is about the same as 400 grit paper, and we'll spin it up, smooth out this bit. We want to smooth out the inside of the ring, which I'll use a split mandrel for, and then we're ready to set the stone, and I'll polish it after I set the stone. So you can see we're ready to set the stone. I've tidied up the sides. I've sanded off my bump for the hallmark. The claws are the same height as the table of the stone. They're slightly rounded and they're thinned, so this will be quite easy to push over. Now I use the GRS bench vise, and I just slip it down to about there. And the GRS, because it doesn't have marks on the jaws to mark the ring, I use a prong pusher, and you can see this is tapered so that it'll push all of the bezel at the same time. So you get the size that will just fit over it. Shift that in a little so you can see. So that just fits right over it, and the set comes as different sizes. So then you'll rock that and push quite firmly, and then you'll take it out and use your burnisher to finally push the top edge right down against the stone. And that's it. And go polish it on the Tripoli. Now don't linger on the Tripoli wheel on these partial bezels, because they're thin enough that you'll just wear it away. So minimal work here, and work on the edge of the buffing wheel to get in next to the chenier, and then just put it on a wooden ring stick and polish the rest of the ring. You're done. Now, you don't have to have one of these. This is just luxury. You can just use your bezel rocker, and you just push this way, around either side, and then your burnisher once again. So you can, like I say, this is luxury. If you have one, use it. If you don't worry about it. It's easy enough to set. And this will all be annealed, because when you soldered it on, it would have become annealed at that time, so it'll be nice and soft and easy to push over. And when you smooth that all out with your burnisher, you'll work harden it so it'll hold the stone in quite easily.